All praise, all glory, all honors most certainly due to the Most High, the God of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and peace to you in the name of Jesus. This is your brother Elisha Israel coming to you once again. And my apologies for coming on late. Just trying to get this technology situation going. I don't know what's wrong with this computer. Been having problems with it. Had to switch computers. Then something was wrong with the camera. So I apologize. I am not tech savvy at all. But with that, brothers and sisters, I want to go ahead and remind you that we at the Household of Faith meet every Sabbath, which is Saturday, at Indiana University Northwest Library Conference Center, room LC 105. Again, that's the Household of Faith. We meet every Sabbath at Indiana University Northwest Library Conference Center, room LC 105. You can also catch us at www.israelteach.org if you'd like to live stream our services. You can also listen to our radio broadcast on WLTH 1370 AM, the region's choice, every Sunday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you're not in the Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana area, you can live stream those radio broadcasts. Just go to israelteach.org and click on the live stream radio broadcast button, and you can hear that sermon. And with that, brothers and sisters, I'd like to get into today's lesson. And today's lesson is a continuation of the lesson that we touched upon Monday, which was understanding the creation. Understanding the creation. You know, it tells us in Psalms, the 19th division, that the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. What is in the creation, or what has been created, shows every one of us, every single human being, that there is a God, that there is something greater than ourselves. And when you go into Genesis, it breaks down that creation. Okay, so it says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Now, how long ago that was, we're not debating that because we don't know for sure, but understand that the earth was already, things were already created by the time you get to verse 2. And then you see an explanation, because it says the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Okay, so now it's, for some reason, for whatever happened, the earth is submerged in water, and then it's brought forth. We touched upon how this creation is. When you see the earth referred to as a heaven, because the Bible talks about three heavens. The earth referred to as heaven, the sky where the birds fly, when the sun and the moon and the stars are, is the heaven. Then you have a big body of water. Then you have the heaven of heavens. Okay, you read in Psalms, the 148th division, where it says, praise ye him, sun and moon, praise him, all ye stars of light, praise him, ye heaven of heavens, and ye waters that be above the heavens. And we read how scientists have found massive, I mean massive quantities of water in space. So it's, you know, that's something that man just found out, but through the revelation of God, through his word, it was already written if that was the case. So we're going to continue to deal with this creation and understand that it is through the wisdom of God that an eternal God created everything. And this, we're going to start off in Isaiah. We're going to start off in Isaiah, the 40th chapter. Isaiah, the 40th chapter. Because again, you know, man is in a position to where he doesn't want to succumb or even acknowledge the existence of God, because in the acknowledgement of the existence of God and the acknowledgement that he created the worlds and everything in it, that would mean you have to submit your will to him. And men don't want to do that. But there is a God. This is Isaiah 40, and we're going to read verse 26. Isaiah 40 and verse 26. Verse 25. It says, to whom then will ye liken me? Or shall I be equal, saith the Holy One? All right. It's talking about God. It said, well, matter of fact, let me just start a little higher than that and just let you know something about this God. Okay. He said, behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket, and I count it as the small dust of the balance. Behold, he taketh up the isles as a very little thing. It says, and Lebanon is not sufficient to burn, nor the beast thereof sufficient for a burnt offering. What can you actually give God? It says, all nations before him are as nothing, and they are counted to him less than nothing, and vanity. To whom then will ye liken God? Or what likeness will ye compare unto him? Like even man in his foolishness tries to make graven images of God. And tries to even, in fact, really our words are not enough to express what God is or to describe him. It says, the workman melteth the graven image, and the goldsmith spreadeth it over with gold and casteth silver chains. He that is so impoverished that he hath no oblation chooseth the tree that will not rot. He seeketh unto him a cunning workman to prepare a graven image that shall not be moved. See, this is the mind of man, that they can create a God. You can't create God. Have ye not known? Have ye not heard? Have it not been told you from the beginning? Have ye not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in, that bringeth the princes to nothing. He maketh the judges of the earth as vanity. He can bring the high low. He said, yea, they shall not be planted, yea, they shall not be sown, yea, their stock shall not take root in the earth. And he shall also blow upon them, and they shall wither, and the whirlwind shall take them away as stubble. To whom then will ye liken me, or shall I be equal, saith the Holy One? Lift up your eyes on high, and behold, who hath created these things. So we need to acknowledge God as the creator. So it says, lift up your eyes on high, and behold, who hath created these things, that bringeth out their hosts by number. He calleth them all by names, by the greatness of his might, for that he is strong in power, not one faileth. I'm going to read verse 28. It says, hast thou not known, hast thou not heard, that the everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, fainted not, neither is weary. There is no searching of his understanding, brothers and sisters. Let's go to Psalms, the 90th division. Because again, it is through understanding, it is through an infinite intelligence, an omniscience, if you will, that everything was created. This is Psalms 90 and verse 2. It says, before the mountains were brought forth, or ever thou hadst formed the earth from and the world, even from everlasting to everlasting, thou art God. Let's go to Proverbs. See, this is a God that has always been here. Proverbs, the 8th chapter. Proverbs, the 8th chapter. And again, it is through this intelligence, this eternal God made the worlds. It says here, this is Proverbs 8 and 20. I'm going to read 8 and 1. It says, doth not wisdom cry and understanding put forth her voice? Okay, so here it's talking about wisdom, and it talks about wisdom. It personifies it in a way. Then it talks about the value of wisdom. It says, I'm going to just go back a little bit. It says, for wisdom is, in verse 11, for wisdom is better than rubies, and all the things that may be desired are not to be compared to it. I, wisdom, dwell with prudence, and find out knowledge of witty inventions. It says in verse 15, by me kings reign, and princes decree justice. It's through wisdom. Like you see the wisdom of Solomon. When the harlots came to him concerning the child, that was wisdom, but that was the wisdom of God, which he prayed for. So that wisdom or that light can be in men, right? That's how he wrote all these proverbs. Okay, so it says something else though. It says in verse 22, the Lord possessed me in the beginning of his way, before his works of old. I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, or ever the earth was. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no fountains abounding with water, before the mountains were settled, before the hills was I brought forth. It says, while as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he set a compass upon the face of the deep, or the depth. When he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the fountains of the deep. When he gave to the sea his decree that the waters should not pass, his commandment, when he appointed the foundations of the earth, that I was by him as one brought up with him, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him. Understand, brothers and sisters, it is through wisdom that these things were created. But see, the scientists of today, the science of today, knowing of today, they would tell you that these things were brought forth out of nothing. For example, Stephen Hawking, in his book, The Grand Design, he would tell you, it says, and I quote, says, because there is a law such as gravity, the universe can and will create itself from nothing. So he maintains that the universe began spontaneously. But understand, brothers and sisters, again, why am I talking about wisdom? Because he created everything. God created everything, and it was out of his intelligence, and it didn't come from just nothing. You've never seen nothing just come out of something, come out of nothing. You've never seen that. You've never observed that. And yet these are the great lengths that man will go to deny the existence of God, because man wants to be God. I'm not talking about in the sense of what he created you to be. I'm talking about he doesn't want to submit himself. He wants to be the God. He doesn't want to submit himself to anyone, just like his father, the devil. Okay, so I just want to go over a little in regard to science as to why this is wrong. Okay, so the first thing, if we look at some of the laws in science, okay, because they will say that the universe came out of nothing and that it is eternal. Okay, but we know in the beginning that God created. So when you look at the laws of thermodynamics, let's just read these laws of thermodynamics and what they are. Okay, so it says the first one, the amount of usable energy in the universe is decreasing. Okay, or in other words, in a closed, isolated system, the amount of usable energy is decreasing. Things left to themselves tend to disorder. For example, if you warm up a cup of coffee and it's hot and steam's coming out of it, if you leave it on the table, come back a half hour later, things are disordered. That's been dispersed. Okay, if the universe was eternal, it would have run out of usable energy or reached a state of total disorder. Okay, the first law of thermodynamics is that the actual amount of energy in the universe remains constant. It does not change. So if the overall amount of energy stays the same, but we are running out of usable energy, then what we started with was not an infinite amount. We'll say that again. If the overall amount of energy stays the same, but we are running out of usable energy, then what we started with was not an infinite amount. This means that the universe is and always has been finite, not infinite, not always, but it had a beginning. It, according to the law of causality, must have had a cause. Okay, so what's the law of causality? Okay, everything that comes to be is caused by another. What's the law of causality? Everything that comes to be is caused by another. The universe came to be. Therefore, the universe was caused by another. Now, what is this cause that could bring forth the universe? We know that everything we see here, that we observe, from the people to the animals to the plants, all forms of life, all forms of non-life, non-living things, could not create the universe. So it had to be something outside of ourselves, outside of man, something supernatural. A supernatural cause brought these things into existence, and it is none other than God. Okay, it is none other than God. I want to go someplace else. Let's go to Job. Because man, again, man, see, he said, when he said talking about man, he said, man, all the nations are as a drop of a bucket. When you really see or try to understand the magnitude of God, it should really humble you. It should humble me. It should humble all of us, so that we break down and submit our will to God. Let's go to Job. Because here, even a righteous man, and the Bible says our righteousness is but as filthy rags, but this is a righteous man. God said this man was a perfect man, one that feared God and eschewed, or he hated evil. So he wanted to justify himself in front of his friends. And, he's questioning God, and something happens. The Lord answers him. The Lord don't have to answer you. God doesn't have to answer. He's God. Between you and him, you got the heavens, and water, the heaven of heavens. He don't have to answer you. But nevertheless, so he was, and that's another thing. Everything you see, he's allowed to be. So, he's questioning God, and then the Lord answers him. And I just want to read this here. This is Job 40 and verse 6. It said, then answered the Lord unto Job out of the whirlwind, and said, gird up thy loins now like a man. I will demand of thee, and declare thou unto me. Wilt thou also disannul my judgment? Wilt thou condemn me, that thou mayest be righteous? So Job knew he hadn't done anything wrong, but he said, wait a minute. You're going to condemn me, or you're going to annul my judgment, what I said should take place to justify yourself? See, one thing about God, if you're dealing with an entity that created the world, that is eternal, that has always been, and did it through wisdom, he sees he sees further than you. So even what happens bad in your life can ultimately lead to good. For example, you look at what happened to Joseph. Joseph was envied by his brothers. They threw him in a pit, and they picked him up and sold him to some Ishmaelites, and he ended up a slave in Egypt. Then in Potiphar's house, what happened is Potiphar's wife tried to make sexual advances towards Joseph, and then she lied on him, said he tried to rape her. Then he was cast into prison and left there. But ultimately, what happened? He rose to prominence in Egypt, and that led to the saving of his household during the famine. That's the Lord looking in the future, encompassing time. Understand the being, and understanding the creation, understand also the being that we're dealing with. So he's going to ask him, he told him, look, how are you going to condemn me so you can be righteous? It says in verse 9, hast thou an arm like God? Again, asking similar questions to like what we read earlier in the song. Or canst thou thunder with a voice like him? He says, I tell you what, in verse 10, deck thyself now with majesty and excellency, and array thyself with glory and beauty. In other words, shine like the sun. Can you do this? Can you do this? I want to hold your finger here, just show you an example of this. This is in Revelation. So when it's all said and done, and what was created here is manifested, when there is no more flesh and blood, here John the Revelator sees something here, and it says something. It says, and in Revelation 21 and 22, it says, and I saw no temple therein, for the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are the temple of it. So those that were in the beginning, they make their creation, they recreated themselves through man. And what was the table was set, so to speak, for man, and what was man made to be. Ultimately, this whole thing is about God recreating himself. But it says something here. It says, and the city had no need of the sun, neither the moon to shine in it, for the glory of God did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof. You don't need the sun when he's in his brilliance, when he's here, when God is here. So it says in Job 40:10, it said, deck thyself now with majesty and excellency, and array thyself with glory and beauty. Or like when Moses said, Lord, allow me to see thy beauty. He said, no man, or thy glory, no man could look in my face and live. So that's just an example. That's just an example of what it is talking about. It says, cast abroad the rage of thy wrath, and behold everyone that is proud and abase him. Look at everyone that is proud and bring him low, and tread down the wicked in their place. Can you do these things? See, this is what the Creator can do. Like we read in Psalms, it says, hide them in the dust together and bind their faces in secret. Take all those who seem to have power right now, bring them down to the ground if you can. All the wicked, can you do that? It says, behold now, behemoth, which I made with thee, he eateth grass as an ox. Look at the massive creatures that I created, that we read about in the beginning, with the beasts of the field that he made, after their own kind. It says, lo, now his strength is in his loins, and his force is in the navel of his belly, or in his muscles. Verse 17, he moveth his tail like a cedar, the sinews of his stones are wrapped together. And it says, his bones are strong pieces of brass, his bones are like bars of iron. He is the chief of the ways of God. He is the chief of the ways of God. He that made him can make his sword to approach unto him. Surely the mountains bring him forth food, where all the beasts of the field play. Look at everything working in synchronicity. Symbiotic relationships. Everything depending on one another. See, this didn't come out of chaos. This came out of the infinite intelligence of God. It says, he lieth under the shady trees in the covert of the reed and fens. The shady trees cover him with their shadow. The willows of the brook compass him about. Behold, he drinketh up a river and hasteth not. He trusted that he can draw up Jordan into his mouth. He taketh it with his eyes, his nose pierceth through snares. See, this is the God that we serve. This is the God that has made all things, brothers and sisters. And what has man done? In the face of all that you observe, that it is quite logical that something outside of yourself, something supernatural brought this to be. Again, everything that comes to be is caused by another. The universe, the earth, came to be. Therefore, the earth was caused by another, and that other was a supernatural cause that was not confined by the laws of gravity, not confined by the laws of thermodynamics, not confined with the limitations of the human mind. But what has man done in his ignorance, in his darkness? This is Romans 1. This is Romans 1 and verse 18. It said, for the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness. So what does this mean? When the Lord looks down on the earth, these men understand something deep down in their conscience, in the crevice, in the corner of their conscience. There's a truth that they know. It says, and because they deny this truth, the wrath of God is revealed upon them. What do they know? It is the universal revelation of the existence of God through the creation. Verse 19, because it says, because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has showed it unto them. He showed you he's God. He's always revealing himself. People say slick things like, well, if he got wrong, he come down right now. He don't have to. He don't have to do that. You look in the mirror and he's telling you, I'm God. How did you get here? You didn't come here from some humanoid. And if you did, how did the humanoid get here? You didn't come through some primordial soup. And if you did, how did the primordial soup get here? How did anything come to be? You've never observed anything come out of nothing. But you have to go through bad sides. You have to dwell in darkness and ignorance. You have to deny the obvious to make these claims that many scientists make. So it says, because that which may be known of God is manifested in them, for God has showed it unto them. What did he show? It says, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made. What is he talking about? What was made? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. It is clear that there's a God. There's no question that God exists. But you have black folks, even, we were less likely to do that. But you get some of this Europeanized education, all of a sudden you think there is no God. And so you will go along with theories that can't be proven. Right? And spew out these beliefs that can't be proven, and other scientists have proven to be wrong. And this is the mainstream. So it said for the invisible things, but again, if there's no God, you don't have anyone to be subject to. You could be a fornicator, you could be a homosexual, you could be whatever you want to be and do whatever you want to do. There's nobody to answer to. That's not the case. Again, verse 20, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. He has shown you. See, without the creation, you wouldn't know if he didn't manifest himself unto you. But with the creation, you know that there's a God. That's what's made. And this is what man has done with that revelation. Verse 21, even showing his Godhead. Man is without excuse in the denial of God. Understanding the creation, looking at it, it shows the existence of God. Verse 21, because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God. But see, when man closer to God, knew God, they didn't glorify him as God. Neither were thankful, but became vain in their imagination, and their foolish heart was darkened. So man dwells in darkness. Even the one that created the worlds, we read in Colossians 1 and Hebrews 1 and John 1. Even the one who said before Abraham was, I am, he came as a light to the world. The creator of the worlds actually came in the form of a man to his creation, and they still, for the most part, rejected him. So it said, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. And this is what man did. So they rejected God. And it says, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible God, one that can shine like the sun, could take upon himself majesty and glory. They rejected him. It says, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man. So man in his darkness and not truly standing that through the creation that God made it, or denying that truth, what did they do? They take a piece of the creation and make God. They take the gold that he's put here in the rivers to make God. They'll mine and take the silver to make God. They'll cut down the stalk of a tree and make a God. Or they'll take some stone to make God. The stone is not even alive, but how could it be God? The silver and the gold is not even alive. How can it be God? You cut down a tree, but how can it be God? So it says, and change the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man, and to birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. Made these images in the forms of other parts of the creation. It says, wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves. And because you deny God, because even you deny the simple manifestation of God through his creation by the things that was made. Now he's giving you up to the lust because you deny it because of your lust of the flesh. That's why even when you read in Genesis, if you go back to Genesis, and he tells something about the minds of man in Genesis 5. Now, this isn't long in the creation of man, but it says in Genesis 6 and 5, it says, and God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented the Lord that he had made man upon the earth. That's why he brought the flood. So understand, this is the mindset of man. This is the result from denying the simple but very obvious manifestation of God through the creation. So it said, wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own bodies, to dishonor their own hearts, lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves, who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worshiped and served the creature more than the creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. And it says something about a man that would deny the existence of God. It said, for this cause God gave them up unto vile affections. For even their women did change the natural use unto that which is against nature. So within nature, you see that which is logical. You see that which brings forth life. The Lord set things in motion. Let's read something in Genesis. It's real simple. See? But man is so smart today. He has done away with what God set forth. This is Genesis 1 and 27. When I come back to you again, we'll deal more with this creation of man. So it says, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth by nature. See, you don't need a book to tell you this. By nature, man is for woman and woman is for man. By nature, male is for female, female is for male. By nature, the dog, you don't have to tell the dog, and it's not just the dog not running after the cat. The mouse is not running after the chicken to bring forth life. This is verse, let's skip to, let's go to, let's see. Genesis 1, and we'll skip down to verse 20. And just to see an example of this, it says, and God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that have life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And God created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. Yeah, you have great diversity amongst man, but you know what you have? You have a man and a woman. You have great diversity amongst the canine, but you have dog. You have great diversity amongst the feline, but what you have? Cat. In different various forms, after his kind, though. And God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply and fill the waters in the seas, and let the fowl multiply in the earth. This is natural. God said, let the earth bring forth a living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing and beast of the earth after his kind. And it was so after his kind. But man in his spiritual darkness and wanting to fulfill the lust of the flesh, the vow, he said, man, he says in Genesis 6 and 5, and God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of his heart was only evil continually. Let's go to well, you should know it. You should know it when he brought forth woman out of man. These two come together and be one. That's natural. But it says, for God, in Romans 1 and 26, for this cause God gave them up unto vile affections. See, this is an unclean thing, a despicable thing. It said, for even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. You got women dealing in homosexuality. It says, and likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the women. See, this is what you have when you deny God. When you deny even the existence of God, you have sin running rampant, and you have that which is against nature, because man is in spiritual darkness. Now look around you. Look around you and see the behavior of people. You see, they have denied the existence of God. They have denied the true and living God through their actions and even through their words, because they think they are smart and they want to fulfill the lust of the flesh, and man will do anything. So it says, and likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another. Men with men working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error, which was meet or which was fitting. The denial of God leads to all kind of abominable behavior, even homosexuality. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, right? They denied what was clearly manifested unto them through the creation. It said God gave them over to a reprobate mind, meaning you can't tell them anything. It says to do those things which are not convenient, okay, or not seemly. These are despicable things. Give me 1 second, just so you understand this. So it says being filled with, in verse 29, being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whispers. See, it is important that we understand what was created. It is important that we can defend the faith that we have through the scriptures, but also scientifically, also philosophically, because, and just straight with just sheer logic. Because otherwise, this is what leads to this type of behavior. This is what leads to this, which we're just seeing right now. So it says, backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful, who knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. And this all comes out of the denial of the universal revelation of the power, deity, and the existence of the Almighty God. And with that, brothers and sisters, I want to say we at the Household of Faith meet every Sabbath at Indiana University Northwest Library Conference Center, room LC 105. You can also check us on, if you want to live stream our lessons. If you're not in our area, you can live stream those services on at www.israelteach.org. You can also check us out on WLTH 1370 AM, the Region's Choice, every Sunday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can also live stream those radio broadcasts. Just go to israelteach.org, click on the radio live stream link, and at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, you can listen to our broadcast. And with that, brothers and sisters, I want to say peace to you. And we'll continue talking about the creation. We'll deal more with man the next time I come before you. And with that, I want to say peace to you.